gone?
Yeah, I think he's like.
I hit him in the fountain downstairs, and I think Jeanette may have like cleaned it out when they were looking at the cafe, and I think it may be gone.
Yeah,
so it's kind of my fault.
John really just name dropped too.
Well,
really
on live air. Come on, bro.
Hey, it was my fault for putting it in the fountain. I mean, why would a kid's toy be in the fountain?
Is it this one? Nope. There it is. So sorry, guys. Maybe you want to make a donation and give us another little John.
Take your little kid's toy from home and bring it to us.
Until then, we're going to hide John on Sundays. Y'all have to, y'all find him, take him
John
to the
and
cafe.
drag him to the cafe.
Find medium John.
I'll be hidden in the baptistry this week, so come find me.
Find medium John. Take him to the cafe. Tell him what you. Wow. All right, this show's over.
Thanks for watching.
I can't talk today.
Ciao.
Man. All right, listen. So we'll figure out something to take the place of Little John, and see if we can still allow you guys to have something free from the cafe. And so find whatever the thing is that we determine and take it to the cafe, and they'll give you something free if you mention Midweek Motivation. Yeah. Don't forget, like, subscribe, follow, share.
There we go.
Download the app.
And text the midweek number.
Yes, it's on the bottom of the screen. Text, I said midweek. Text motivation. No.
Motivate.
Come on, man. What is wrong?
540.
Carly, we can take it from here, okay, man?
3838.
Just sit back and relax, dude. Just sit back and relax.
The day. Clearly, I can't do anything else right today.
Well, you didn't even press the button right the first time.
Take it away, guys. Throwing shade.
Hey, that's what happens.
It's payback. I understand. I called my man out and blamed all of the stuff that's happening right now. Notice he's back on the show and it's happening. Wow, let's get this show started. Hey, text motivate to 540-900-3838, and we'll get you in our group. Sweet. We are live on
YouTube.
I'm going home. We are live on YouTube.
We're probably live on Facebook too. So
yeah,
okay.
Brandon don't know how to work. There it is.
There we go.
We're live on Facebook too.
Hey, let us know in the chat that you are here, especially on YouTube, because it doesn't tell us you're watching on YouTube. And then the rest of them, hey, Marshall is out of town on 5/21 if anybody wanted to know.
Wow.
He just texted me. Sorry, Marshall.
Sorry, Dad.
So if you really like him singing on Sundays, then don't come that Sunday because he's not going to be up there.
John's kidding. That's a bad joke.
That is a
say
bad
that.
joke.
It's not funny. We don't come to church for the people.
This show's taking a wrong turn quickly.
I wonder how many people we have lost already. They're like, yep, this is going to be one of those.
I don't know why.
Emails being sent to Dustin and Pastor John.
Hey, Tristan's here, though.
Yeah.
What's up, Tristan?
What is up, Tristan? Tristan.
I don't think you're supposed to hyperanalyze.
Tristan.
Okay, Tristan.
Just Tristan.
What's up, Tristan? So yeah, today we have a very special episode for you guys, dealing kind of along the lines of our Good Neighbor tour, really kind of the vision of this.
Yes, Cody, we are. We are very much
What's he
struggling.
saying?
He said, shoo, y'all struggling without me.
He spelled it, too. I could hear him saying
shoo,
it.
Shoo, shoo. Wipe a little, shoo. Where's the emoji at for that, man? Is there an emoji like wiping sweat? Nope.
No.
I don't know.
All right. Well, we have, John is almost always on the show or in the vicinity. Cassidy's been on the show a couple of times. And so Brandon and I, we're here pretty much every week. Cody. Megan really wanted to be on the show as well, considering what we are talking about today, if I can talk. Good thing y'all are basically running this show today.
Yeah, just let us know when you're ready.
Yeah, about to hand it off right now. John and Cassidy and several others from our church just went on a mission trip to Panama. In fact, got back 5 a.m. Sunday.
5 a.m. Sunday morning.
And we're still here at church. And Cassidy was even on stage.
Only because Dustin asked me to.
Yeah, so that, and did a great job and had a huge smile on her face while doing it. Even got a picture of that huge smile too, and plastered it all over social media for everybody to see. This is what 5 a.m. looks like.
I woke up like this. No kidding.
Oh man. So I just wanted to kind of bring them on the show today just to kind of share what took place in Panama. Like what are some of your takeaways? And I understand you guys have a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to advertise it as a sentence.
I couldn't help it. I tried not to.
Essentially what
I just
happened.
wanted to say the word sentence.
Okay.
So I could start something in the chat. Hey, do you say sentence or do you say sentence? Sentence.
Sentence.
Is it
Normal people don't think about it. They just say it.
So
But Carly would like to know.
Sentence.
I'm asking for a friend. Is it sentence or sentence? Is it Tristan or Tristan? Is it Brandon
No,
or
this
Brandon?
this one I will get behind. Is it Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving?
You just said the same thing.
No, I didn't.
Mayor. What
I
was
did not say the same
one
thing.
more time.
Thanksgiving.
I still didn't see the difference.
I know y'all know the difference.
Thanksgiving.
You hear the difference?
I don't hear a difference.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving? You put the emphasis on thanks
Thanks
or on
or giving.
Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving.
It still sounds the same to me.
All right, whatever. Ask my dad to say Thanksgiving and you'll hear the difference.
Yeah.
Okay?
I put them on both. And just scream it.
Thanksgiving.
Okay, let's talk about Panama.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Reel
about
it in,
Panama.
reel it in.
Yeah, reel it in. All right, so John and Cassidy, I'm just going to kind of hand it over to you guys. Just share with us how awesome of a trip that was, how you guys were good neighbors to those in Panama. Maybe let us know a little bit about what the area is like and what type of mission trip it was, because I think that's important. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people, they kind of have this misconception of what a mission trip really is.
For sure.
And so share with us kind of what took place while you guys were there.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with like the mission trip aspect what type of mission trip it was, because I think something Megan has done a really good job of here is bringing like a new perspective to missions. And when you think about missions, we have these preconceived notions of what you're going to do. You're going to help people and like all of that. And yes, we did go and we helped people, but in a way that was good for them, in a way that didn't hurt them. And she's brought this idea to Parkway, and it's a seminar, a class that they teach here called Helping Without Hurting, or there's a book called When Helping Hurts. And so that was the big emphasis of our training on the front end, was making sure that by going on this mission trip, we were actually helping the people there, but not hurting them. Because when we go to a place like that, and we as Americans, as people from the United States, we think we're like, these people need shelters, these people need new buildings, they need churches, they need houses, they need food, they need clothes. And like, yes, maybe our perspective is they do need new clothes or new houses or whatever, new shoes. But in reality, they need different things that we would never think of. And so by going on this trip, we didn't build houses, we didn't build shelters for them, we didn't do any manual labor of any kind for these people, but instead we partnered with the church, and the church was like the church in Panama, the Grand Commission Church is what it's called. They said, here's what we would like you to do. We want you to teach us about discipleship. So we had 2 discipleship classes for the people there. We want you to kind of help us lead our church service. We want someone to preach from your church in our church service. We want you guys to take our kids to the park and hang out with them and play with them and give them a Bible lesson. We want you to lead our teenagers in some games and in a Bible lesson. And so I think it's really important to know that just because you're going on a mission trip doesn't mean you build things or take them a bunch of clothes. Oftentimes that can be hurtful to the people there, because then they just rely on you for those things. They don't do any work to get clothes and shoes and food. They're just like, oh, we'll just wait for the quote unquote white people to come, the Americans to come back, and we'll like just let them provide that for us rather than working for it. But we can provide them tangible things and have lasting spiritual, eternal impact on them. Cassidy?
Yeah. One of the things that I think we often do as Americans going over to other countries as missionaries or on mission trips, especially if it's somebody who hasn't been trained or who hasn't been given resources like helping without hurting, we go over with this God complex. Like, oh, we're going to go over there. We're going to fix this. We're going to fix this situation. We're going to make their life better. A lot of my friends and family that have gone on missions trips, it's the opposite. They come back fixed. They come back better. They come back blessed. And so I think it's great that you guys kind of went over with a different mindset. Like not that there's anything wrong with building things and that kind of deal,
Right,
but
for sure.
relationships are so important and networking is so important, even with these other countries. So.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Bible teachers, Jenny Allen, she always says there are only two things that last forever, and that's God's word and his people.
Let's go.
Wow.
So
Hold on.
Let's go.
yeah, I mean, so that's when anybody asks, like, what did you do on this trip? Like, the answer is we spent time with people. And for somebody like me, that's my favorite activity. Like, I like hanging out with people. It was really fun to just get to talk to people that live a completely different life than what I'm used to. Like, the things that they see, the things that they hear, the people that they encounter, the way that they have to fend for themselves in different situations. Like, I don't have to live like that. And so getting to just watch them do it with ease, and like obviously on the inside they may not be doing it with ease, but from my perspective, like they're just living life. Like they're just like, for example, on Sunday morning, the first day that we were at the church, they have Sunday school for the kids first thing in the morning, and that entire service was ran by teenagers.
Wow.
Like there was maybe 2 adults in the building, and they were standing back against the wall.
They just unlocked the building for them.
Yeah, they were just supervising.
Curious. You guys are our youth leaders. Some of our youth leaders here. Y'all help with high school ministry. Y'all help me with young adults. What kind of impact did that have on you guys? Had to have a huge one.
Well, you made a comment about our sentences, so I'll let John share his sentence first because it directly answers that question. But I'll say something as well.
That was like the biggest impact of the whole trip for me, was seeing that, and seeing the teenagers lead in other ways, in the dance team and the worship team and the sound. Like their whole church is run by teenagers, essentially with the help of a couple of adults. But I think it gave me a new perspective for the teenagers, like here in the United States, like because these teenagers, in Panama, they just got direction from the pastor. They just got given leadership from the pastor, and now they're taking it and running with it. And so it gave me a new perspective to say, okay, how do I build a relationship with my teenagers and lead them in such a way where I can just step back and watch them do it? Like the pastor, I mean, she had a baby, so she wasn't even in the church like at all. So that was one reason she wasn't around. But the teenagers just took it and ran with it. They just needed someone to unlock the building. They handed out the snacks to the kids and the juice, and they led the worship for the kids, and they greeted all the kids, led the games with the kids. And then Cassidy actually gave a Bible story because they had asked her to. But on a normal Sunday, those teenagers are the ones giving the Bible story and talking with the kids. And on top of that, they go pick up the kids in the community every morning and walk them back to the church. And they're out for like an hour in the mornings, picking up all the kids, walking them to the church, and then spend an hour in the afternoon taking the kids back home, dropping them off at their parents' house. And that's because the parents want to make sure their kids are safe. And so they see them all the way into the front door of their house. They don't just say, all right, it's over, let's go home. Like they actually walk them back to their houses.
That just turns it back to that whole relational thing.
Yep.
Like they're not going to a church. They are the church.
Yep.
They are the family.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool to hear.
And continue with what you were saying.
Yeah. And when we say teenagers, I think we should clarify that really we just mean young people. Like some of the teenagers are 12, some of the teenagers are 25. So it's not just high school students necessarily, but that's a prominent age group, I would say. And I think that a lot of them don't even realize that what they're doing is abnormal to us. And I had the opportunity later in the week to share kind of like a Bible study with the young people, so to speak. And I just encourage them, like, I don't think you guys realize that the things that you do on a daily basis, like, I don't even know if I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it challenges me to think, if I was in that situation, would I be willing to do this every single week, multiple times throughout the week, not just on Sunday mornings? And like, partially it's because we were there, so they had an activity for us to do every day. But still, they have 2 or 3 services every week that they're going to pick up kids. And even if they're not picking up kids, they're showing up early. Like John was saying, they have a dance team. So like, there's like 6 or 7 or 8 teenagers that they're dancing at every service. So, they're practicing throughout the week. Like, just like we do here at our church, we have worship practice. We have youth group on Wednesdays. Like, think about that. But it's a church of like 30 to 40 people, maybe. Like, so they are really dependent on each other for everything. And it's beautiful. It's really cool. It's really cool to see a 20-year-old girl leading these 70-year-old adults in worship, which the same thing happens in our church sometimes if you think about it. But there's just something different about it when it's in that little building on the side of the road. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's hot.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
100
gosh.
degrees when they're walking to pick up
There's no
kids.
AC. Like, come on. That's enough for some of y'all to say, I ain't going.
I'm out right there.
Yeah,
on that.
exactly. Yeah, that's a challenge. We are so privileged, and I hate that word, but I'm serious. Like, it's, yeah.
I mean, they have a big fan in their church, but when the church service, like the preacher gets up, they have to turn the fan off
Yeah,
because you can't hear anything. So, I mean,
Shoot.
it gets very hot in there when you're preaching and listening.
I'm just sitting here thinking about all the excuses that we make not to go to
No
church.
kidding.
Come on.
It just,
Come on.
man.
And yeah, they basically remove every excuse that we would make. Oh, it's raining out. I mean, they're about to go into what they call like their rainy season, and it's raining for like 6 months out of the year. Like, I mean, not consistently, but it's like
Every day.
storming like every single day. And so, but they're still going to have church. They're still going to worship and continue what they're doing. And so I think that was the huge part of the trip for us, was seeing these young people lead the church. Like, they are the church. They've taken ownership of this church. And part of it is because their adults have it. Like,
I have something.
yeah, go ahead.
So obviously we were in Panama, but the smaller area that the church was in that we're talking about, a lot of the people there speak Spanish, but they speak a tribal language called Kuna. And so the Kuna people, it's not very common that the adult men are saved. They are not Christ followers. A lot of the women have become Christ followers, but even if the men are saved, they work. I was just telling Carly and Brandon before the show, like, these guys will commute 2 or 3 hours in the morning and then 2 or 3 hours at night to get back home after work. So they're not back in time for church. Adult church there is in the evenings. It's not on Sunday morning. So if they work on Sundays, like, they're not home for church. So what I'm trying to say is, if you just took a picture of who's in that church on a Sunday, I'd say less than 10% is men. There's just no men. So to see 15, 17, 18-year-old boys leading these kids and even adults in worship or whatever it is, just stacking chairs, like, that is going to make a huge impact on that church long term. Because I even asked the missionary that we were working with, like, if these boys were going to turn out like their fathers and like their grandfathers, like, how do we know that they're going to stay in the church, that they're going to keep leading? And she literally said their teenage years are make or break. Like, the way that they are discipled in those years will determine how they are as dads, how they are as men, how they are as far as being involved in their community and in their churches. So seeing them leaning on each other and doing it together, like, it's literally a picture of heaven. Like, that's all it was the whole time. That's all it was.
Wow. And I think it's important for us to share those kind of things. You know, I'm not trying to step on toes here, but here in America, if my kid doesn't want to go to church for whatever reason, a lot of times we give into it. But then you see the impact in other countries that child being in church, and not just being in church, but being the church and serving. We see the impact that has. But here in America, it's like, they're just, they'll grow into it, or later on they'll make a decision for themselves. I don't want to force church on my kids. I think I think we do need to, in a sense, kind of force it. Like, let them still make their decision, but we got to have them in the church.
100% agree.
I mean, they can't decide if they don't know what they're deciding between.
Come on. Come on. I feel like there's a scripture about that. How would they know if they have not?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's in the Bible.
I'm not a parent, so I can only say so much. But I can say that watching those kids, like you said, be the church. And like there was this 12-year-old girl, and she really connected with our whole team. She was precious. She was there all the time. And so when we would take kids home after services, like literally up and down the streets of the community, we would kind of break off into groups because we didn't need all 50 people walking around together. Not everybody lives on the same street, right? So we'd split up, and one group would be led by like a 21-year-old guy, and one group would be led by like a 25-year-old guy. But then this 12-year-old girl was one that everybody turned to, and they'd say, okay, you take this group to such and they'd tell her the streets, and she would lead us adults in taking these kids home. She's 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not only that, but she's probably half my size. Like, she's small. She does not give off the presence of, I am a leader and I'm going to take action.
Yeah.
But they give her so much responsibility, and she does it. She carries it well. And like, she doesn't speak English. Most of them don't speak very good English. They know some words, but they speak Spanish. So we had a translator. We would try to communicate with her, and we would ask her like directions, and she would tell us where to go. Like, and I just think about like 12-year-olds. What's that, like 7th grade, 6th grade, something like that?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, like
I'm not there
seventh
yet.
Yeah, like 7th grade.
Yes.
So what kind of responsibility are we giving to our 7th graders? Are we giving them enough responsibility to where they're going to live up to it? Like, I've heard people say, like, the expectations you set for your kids, like, they will meet them.
Yeah.
So like, if you're setting the bar low, they're going to meet a low bar like that.
And stop there.
And stop there. Yeah, they're not going to exceed your expectations. But like, I'm not saying we need to like pressure these kids to be like running our church.
Yeah.
And we live in a different culture, so it's different. We don't have to do things the same way that they do in Panama.
We don't only have one pastor on staff.
Yeah, like they don't have a children's pastor, a youth pastor, a worship pastor. They don't have those types of things. I mean, they have people who might lead as a layperson, but like they just have a pastor. And even then, a lot of pastors in that area, they have a completely separate full-time job because they're not getting paid for that. But they are doing probably just as much work as a lot of our pastors here, if not more.
Yeah. Brandon, what we got in the chat, man?
Christina Huffman said, we as Americans are too comfortable in church. What if we had to worship in uncomfortable situations?
That's really good.
That is good.
Christina was on the team with us. She was great. There's 9 of us.
I'll leave the other comment out.
We
I got to share it.
Say it. What is it?
Cody said, let's get one of those big fans next time Carly preaches.
And leave it on.
And leave it on.
Oh,
man.
Oh, man.
oh,
That's tough.
hard.
I tell you what, though, I mean, just listening to these stories, man, like all I'm doing is going back in my brain is like, you know, I've not come to church before because, you know, me and my wife stayed up too late on Saturday night watching a movie, you know, and I was just tired.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, you know,
I've been
that
guilty
just,
of it too.
And then they're there at the church for 12 hours on Sunday because
Yeah.
they have kids in the morning, and then they have youth, and then they have adult service in the evening. And on top of that, they just planted a new church
yeah,
in
I
a
forgot
separate
about this.
community. So we went to 2 church services on Sunday, and the second one is literally in a house on the back porch of a house. Like literally we packed 25 people into the back porch of a house and like sat there and had church.
Maybe more than 25.
Yeah.
Because our team was 9. So there's probably
Yeah.
more like 30 or
30.
35.
I'm just saying, no wonder you showed up, Cassidy and John.
Yeah.
Y'all were challenged. You're like,
Yeah.
man, I'm not going to let lack of sleep stop me from getting to church. I done saw.
It's like the heat. People say like the heat is different there. The sun is different, but it drains you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we would not do like
we
a
weren't
whole
even
lot
in
of,
the direct sun. Like, we were inside a lot.
yeah. And
but
we
it's
would get
just-
home and we were just beat because of the sun just draining you like
Yeah.
all day, all day long. It doesn't stop. They literally from 1 to 4 o'clock every day, we would just be in the church. And those, I'll tell in a minute, those are some of the sweetest moments we had there. But they literally in Panama from 1 to 4 stay in their house and like rest or sleep because the sun is so hot, especially in the middle of their dry season. The sun gets so hot that like going outside, like people just
idea.
don't do it. Like you won't
Yeah.
see anyone on the streets from 1 to 4. It like shuts down. And so we would sit inside the church, and those were, I mean, just one day we got to pray over Emily, our trip leader, Emily Perry. She was having some health issues and like ongoing health issues, and they were just flaring up. So we got to pray over her in those moments. We got to pray over Christy, the missionary. They're having some financial struggles because they came off the field. And when they came off the field, some of their larger donors like stopped like giving the large donations. Their monthly supporters stayed with them, but she was like, we just need large donations. And so we got to pray over her, and we saw it answered right there.
That
That
is such
someone
a cool story.
donated $1,500 almost like immediately after we wrapped up praying over her
So cool.
from New Mexico anonymously. And she's like, we don't know anyone in New Mexico. And then I think it was either Carly or Dustin in staff meeting the other day was like, God's in New Mexico.
Yeah.
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 But and then one day we just sat there, and our translator knew how to play the piano, and another boy from San Juan was in the church, and Cassidy played the guitar, and we just sat there and had a like mini worship session for 30, 45 minutes in the church, just sitting there. And this time that could have been used like sleeping. Yes, I slept one day during that time. Some other people just rested, but we also used it for like
relationship building.
relationship building and
Yeah.
praying and worshiping God instead of just sitting around and doing nothing. We used that time. So
Yeah. Man, Brandon, read that. Goodness gracious.
So one thing we
This
all
is from Kendall.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
Kendall
good.
wrote on here. I guess Kendall went with you
Yes.
guys.
She did.
Yeah.
So she said one thing we all took away from this trip is wherever you find your feet, that's where your assignment is.
Yes.
Mhm.
That
Wow.
was something that Christy, the missionary that we worked
Wow.
with, she told us on the very first day, which the Lord used that in more ways than one, because I was already wrestling with that before we even got to Panama. So for her, the first day to sit us down, and the first day that we got there, actually, she brought in a pastor from Panama and our translator, and he basically just taught us a lot about the Kuna culture and like what to expect, how these people operate, their backgrounds, their housing situations, things like that. It was very, very insightful time. And so we sit through like probably an hour or two of him telling us all this information, and then they left, and then it was just us with Christy. And we were able to just have some real talk, like kind of like this, like just straight up talking about what we were about to encounter. And she told us that very first day, like wherever you find your feet, that is your assignment. And I think that can be easy to say lightly, but like literally she was saying it from a place of like the schedule may say one thing, but when we get to the church, they may want another thing,
Yeah.
which is a culture thing. Like sometimes that's just how it works. Schedules don't always work
church
the same in
starts
other
at
cultures.
4, but church is actually going to start at like 4:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what she was saying is if you have the expectation that at 9:00 we're doing Sunday school, but we get there and they say, actually, we want to do this instead. Like wherever you find your feet, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So, and it also is in a spiritual sense. Like I would say this to whoever is wrestling with your calling or your job situation or your family situation, like wherever you find your feet right now, that's where God has you on purpose.
Come on.
And he's using that, even if it's confusing, even if it doesn't feel right, even if it's frustrating, like that's your assignment, especially in your household, especially to those of you who are parents or spouses or whatever, like that is your assignment first.
Yeah, man, that's worth a let's go.
go.
Wow, and that'll preach. Listen, there was something really cool that happened. We need to kind of start wrapping up here, but there was something really cool that you guys shared in staff meeting yesterday. You know, John's birthday. Happy birthday! A few
Thanks.
days late, but John's birthday was while you guys were there, and I was okay to share the story.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go for it. That's so
Um,
cool.
So I'll tell my perspective of the story, and Cassidy can finish the story up. But so they were planning like a birthday party for me at the church that night, and on top of that, we already knew we were showing the Jesus film. We knew that going into the trip that the last night we were going to be showing the Jesus film, and our whole week leading up to that was inviting people and building relationships so that people would come and watch the Jesus film. And so they were also on top of the Jesus film planning my birthday party at the church that night. And
Which
so
would take place after the movie.
yeah, and so they were trying to keep me out of the church. So I like helped them go get extra chairs for the event, which was a reasonable
Which was
thing
true.
because we needed more chairs. There's about 100 people there, and they only have like 30 or 40 chairs in their church. So we rented some extra chairs, and then the next thing was we needed more water for the team. We weren't allowed to drink the water in the community, so we would buy like big gallon purified waters every day and like dump them into a Gatorade water jug. And then so I went with Christy, the missionary, to get more water. And then they still weren't done setting up for the birthday party, and so they needed to keep me out of the church, and I didn't know that they were setting up.
John forgot it was his birthday.
I forgot it was my birthday because I just got caught up in everything that we were doing to set up and get ready for the night. And so then Christy's like, hey, John, and Cassidy, and then Tyson, another high school student that went on the trip with us, she was like, I really just feel like the Spirit's leading me to walk around and pray over the neighborhood, pray over the Jesus film. And I'm thinking like, that's a valid thing. Like the Spirit's moving like inside of her. And not that the Spirit wasn't moving, but it was to keep me out of the church. But so we just walked around the one block around the neighborhood and we prayed. Each of us prayed something different. And
out loud.
yeah, and you can finish the story about Tyson if you want.
Yeah, so it was the four of us, John and I, Christy, and Tyson.
This was Tyson's first mission trip.
Yeah,
Tyson's,
first time out of the country, first time on a plane.
Same for me. But yeah, first time for everything for Tyson, which was really cool to experience alongside of him. And he was a trooper all week. He was great with the teenagers. He's in Spanish in school right now, so I think that was fun for him too, like getting to like actually use what he's learning. But anyways, so we're on this prayer walk, and I remember thinking like Christy prayed first, and then I think I prayed second. And then Tyson was like kind of leading. He was in front of us. We were on a narrow sidewalk, and he started praying out loud. And I remember thinking like, I don't think I've heard Tyson pray out loud very much on this trip. Maybe once.
Maybe for a meal, I think. We all prayed for a meal.
Not that that's a bad thing, but it was an excitement. I was like, oh, this is so cool that Tyson's getting to be a part of this, because it wasn't our whole team, and it was impromptu. It was not supposed to happen. It was a ploy to keep John out, but the Lord used it in a really cool way. So anyways, we're walking, and Tyson is praying, and some of the things that we as the four of us prayed for was that the church would be full, that we would have to go get even more chairs than the first round that John and I already picked up. That we would be standing outside because there would be no standing room in there. We prayed that there would be people in the church who don't normally come to the church, but they came to see the movie, because the movie was in Kuna, and that's the first movie any of them have ever seen in their native tongue. So that is pretty cool. But anyways, so we prayed all these things. We get back to the church. We have a great night, whatever. And that night, before we go to bed, every night before we went to bed, we would have debrief time. And Christy would just allow us to talk about some things that we experienced that day. And the next morning, we had our final debrief before we got on the plane. And Christy gave us all the opportunity to say what like our top 4 moments on the trip were. And everybody goes around the room, and then it gets to Tyson, and he says, actually, the prayer walk with John and Christy and Cassidy. And at first I was like, oh, he's being funny, like that. He's being funny. But he was serious, because he said that God used it to show him how prayers can be answered, because all those things that we prayed, we saw them come to pass. We did have to go for a second round of chairs.
Wow.
Our team was standing outside because there was no room for us.
Wow.
There were people in there that I hadn't seen their faces all week. And so the Lord definitely answered our prayers in that moment. As much of a joke as it may have started out to be, the prayers were authentic. And so God used that moment to work in Tyson's heart and to show him like, I hear your prayers. I'm answering your prayers. And it was really cool to see Tyson get to experience that.
Man,
So
that is so awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys so much for jumping on the show today and sharing kind of what God did through you guys, did for you guys, did for the area, the community that you guys were in Panama. We're going to work together to try to do something on a Sunday morning and allow some time for, some kind of like a missions minute, missions update, missions recap. We're going to try to do that for all of our missions trips that we're taking. We got a lot of really good ones coming up. Not that any are better than the others, but we're
blessed.
We're ascending church
for sure.
And
Lots of opportunities to go.
Yeah. So if you've ever had any interest in going on a mission trip, you got 2 people right here that I know would love to talk to you. Megan wanted to be on the show today, but she was unable to. She had other commitments. But man, we want to be a church that is equipping you. And one cool thing before we wrap up is, we don't just let you sign up and then get on a plane and go. There's some training, there's some equipping,
Which was really cool.
Yeah, that's That's so cool. And then even when you get back off of one, we have some things that we offer
Yep.
for those who are coming off of the missions trip, the missions field. So I want to encourage you, feel free to go to our website, parkwayroanoke.com. Click on our missions page. Check out some of the cool things that we have that we're doing. All of the stuff, all the mission trips that we go on, they are not posted there sometimes because of safety reasons. We can't let people know where we're going per se. And so, yeah, check that out. I think you guys will be truly blessed. John and Cassidy, thank you guys. Thank you for those of you that have been watching online. Mm-hmm. Kendall, thank you for sharing a little snippet. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I know it's early, but if any of y'all who went on the mission trip want to come to the sunrise service and share some of your testimony, that would be
for sure. That's a good idea.
Perfect opportunity for you to share.
Yeah.
Even if it's just your sentence.
Yeah.
Say, everyone needs to ask Christina.
Yes,
what
if
her
y'all see
sentence is,
Christina at
because-
church on Sunday, ask her, how was her mission trip to Panama?
Because the whole week she was like, I don't know, I'm just not good with
Christina,
words.
tell us
and
what your sentence is.
good.
Come on,
I'm
I
not,
know
Christina.
you're on here. So
I'm not good
tell
with
us what your
writing
sentence is.
and all that. And then she
Sentence.
comes out with her sentence, and we were all like, all right, we're all using your sentence when we get back, because it was just
Shot in the
summed up
heart.
the entire trip.
Yeah, that's
like,
great.
in a good
great.
way.
Well, listen, thank you guys again for watching Midweek Motivation. This episode today was completely unscripted.
Yep.
Like, we got zero notes. What's on the computer here is YouTube, Facebook, and the online platform, so we can be chatting with you. We had zero notes today. We just wanted to allow Guy to speak, and we wanted it to be what we intended it to be when we started this, real conversations with real people about a very real God. Hey, thank you all again so much for joining us today. And this has been Midweek Motivation.
Ciao.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, when you're feeling down and motivated in the midweek, we got the guys here to make your life complete. Little John, Brandon, Cody, Carly, they're coming in to keep you motivated all week. New episode, same time every week. Don't gotta wait long for the next one to release. So don't go away, sit down, take a seat, enjoy Midweek Motivation with John and Carly. Hey.